And I'm excited today to have our last session here. The topic here the title is Social Studies, Impactful Instruction and Authentic Integration with Joanna Sorensen. And she also works at the Utah State Board of Education as one of the social studies specialists. So Joanna, I'll turn the time over to you. Feel free to introduce yourself further.
Great, thank you. Poor Teresa, she has to listen to this a second time and
it's so good. You guys will love it.
All of my corny jokes and self-deprecation. So sorry, Teresa. I just have to say, first of all, how excited I am to be here with you. I also am not very good at multitasking on the computer. So excited to be here with all of you today. And even more than excited, see, I'm still using my teacher voice. We're on the computer and I'm still projecting as if you're like in the room in front of me. I'm so sorry if I'm blowing your ears out. I am so honored, beyond excited. I am honored to be here with you today for a few different reasons. One reason is I am fresh out of the classroom myself. Last year was my 21st year of teaching 6th grade here in Utah. And I have still all of my besties, friends and family in the classroom this year. And I know what a year this has been. I talk to several at least every day, and listen and try to empathize and feel guilty for not being in the trenches with you all anymore. But it's such an honor to be with people who do what you do and are just giving everything you can right now in this crazy world that we're experiencing. Also, okay, I'm asking for grace because having been a classroom teacher, I'm used to Teams. That's what we used last. And I am more of like an in-person presenter where I just sit on the desk next to you and we have this conversation. So show me a little bit of grace as I work on Zoom technology and sharing my screen with you and trying to get Teresa's like my tech guru today. Okay, let's see. What am I doing? From beginning there. Okay, is it up, Teresa? Awesome. Okay. So another reason that I am honored to be with you today, and honestly, feel free to turn on your cameras. Like, I know it is Friday and we are all like this right now, but I love to see your faces and just know that there's somebody live on the other end. I don't even care if you're multitasking while you're here. But if anybody wants to turn their camera, that would be awesome. You are preschool teachers. You amaze me. When I started my teaching career 21 years ago, a long lifetime ago, one of my first teacher mentors gave me a book called Teach Like Your Hair is on Fire. And, you know, when we first come out of school and we are going to change the world with our teaching and make such a difference in our classrooms, this is what I pictured for myself in my classroom. I'm going to be this powerful teacher. And, you know, there are days when more days than not that this was not me, but you know, there were times that maybe in my 6th grade classroom, I felt this and I had this kind of an impact on my students. But I think about teaching preschool now, and this is more what I think of teaching with your hair on fire. Preschool scares me. I just, the chaos that you guys are in every day, I'm more like Beaker, I think, in a preschool classroom. So I honor and respect you for teaching littles that would literally light my hair on fire if I was in there with them. I did once upon a time in a previous life teach a 3- and 4-year-old preschool class. It was when I was working on my teaching degree and I was pregnant with my first child, who is now 24. So when I say a lifetime ago, literally a lifetime ago. And it was a Challenger school downtown. And I have blocked most of it out of my mind, except that I had Carl Malone's daughter in my preschool class. And when I was 12, I thought I was going to marry Carl Malone. And so this is what I've held on to, you know, for my preschool teaching experience for the last 20 years. I honor and respect you as expert teachers of your students. So I am becoming an expert in social studies, content, and instruction in this new position. I've been in this position since August, so not very long at all. So I'm trying to become an expert in social studies. Am I an expert teacher? I wouldn't say so, but I really hope that by partway through each school year, I became an expert teacher for the students that were in my classroom that year. So every year is a different group of kids, and they bring different things with them, whether it's assets or disabilities or hope or struggles. And so every year we are a different teacher than we were the year before. So I am honored to be with you because I know that you are expert teachers of these kiddos that you have right now. And when I share things with you today, I completely trust you to make the best decisions for your students. Make the best decisions on behalf of your kids because you are the experts on them. So like I said, I taught sixth grade here in Utah for 21 years. I taught in Granite District at Hunter Elementary for 2 years, sixth grade in an elementary school, so taught everything. Then I moved back home to Cache Valley where I grew up, and I taught sixth grade language arts and social studies at Mount Logan Middle School for 12 years. Then I jumped ship to Cache District and taught ELA and social studies in a 6-7 center in Cache District. And then Cache moved sixth grade back into the elementary schools. It had been in a middle school setting since I had been a fifth grade student. And then they moved it back down, and then I taught 2 years at Millville Elementary, sixth grade. And then I remarried and moved to Davis County and spent 3 years in elementary schools in Davis County before accepting this position last summer. So that's just a little bit about my background as a Utah teacher. Our learning targets for today are these 3 things. So we're going to talk about your preschool standards and the UEN strategies and activities document. We're going to talk about inquiry and integration, and then also any supports I can give you. What needs do you have in your classroom right now? When I looked back at the course description that I wrote a really long time ago, I freaked out a little bit because I had way too big of aspirations for what we could accomplish in 50 minutes. And so maybe I was thinking a full day session. I don't know, but I'm going to do the best I can to address what the course description said, but we're not going to get to all of it. Plus I talk a lot. Also, having been in sixth grade for 21 years, I have kind of turned into a sixth grader. And so I am blunt and crass and very, very honest. And I really hope that you will be the same way back to me, whether you unmute yourselves and ask questions or give comments or put them in the chat box. We have to talk about hard things in social studies. And I really need to know what questions you have and what supports you need so that we can make sure we're doing the best social studies teaching that we can do. So blunt honesty is expected today. We have to get through the icky stuff first, just to build a little bit of background. So I have this diagram called the marginalization of social studies that the CCSSO, or Council of Chief State School Officers, published a few years ago. And it basically says that when No Child Left Behind was implemented 20 or so years ago, it really tanked the amount of time that was spent in elementary school classrooms on social studies and science, because we were testing math and we were testing English language arts, and we were judging teachers on their student success in math and English language arts. And so several of us even had administrators tell us, don't teach social studies, don't teach science, they aren't tested, they don't matter, don't do it. We have done our kids a disservice by doing that. We had to, I mean, we were told to. So please don't be hard on yourselves if that happened in your classroom because it's just the way the world worked for us for a while. But guess what? No Child Left Behind is gone now. And I know there is still a lot of emphasis on the core subject areas, and that's why integration of social studies into those areas is so important. The good news for you guys is you integrate social studies all day, every day, and you probably don't even know that you're doing it, but hopefully we'll help you recognize that by the end of this session today. One of the disservices we've also done to our kids with marginalizing social studies is we've actually negatively impacted their reading comprehension, their literacy. So I just read a study, like a meta-analysis of studies that talked about how when social studies is taught in the classroom and kids are learning about civics, economics, geography, history, that it actually increases kids' reading levels. And it doesn't work that way with science. It was social studies, not all other content areas, but social studies specifically. And it's because strong background knowledge about those areas gives kids opportunities to make connections. Their vocabulary is richer, and they actually score better on reading tests when they are taught social studies. In the bottom left part of the diagram, kids who learn about social studies and have civics education are later on in life more likely to vote and discuss politics at home, whether their parents want them to or not. They're 4 times more likely to volunteer and work on community issues. And we want kids to be civically engaged. We want everyone to be civically engaged. They're more confident in their ability to speak publicly and to communicate with their elected representatives. So just a little plug there for putting more social studies back into the classroom, but I'll bet you do it already. So a little more background. The kindergarten through 6th grade standards are right in the middle of the revision process right now. There's like a 13-step process that the state board has adopted. And part of it is that we put a writing committee together of teachers or stakeholders, but it's mostly teachers from around the state representing different areas, put them on a writing committee, and they look at recommendations from a committee that has reviewed the previous or current standards, and then they start revising those or completely rewriting them. And once they have a workable draft, then we get permission from the state board to release the draft for 90 days of public comment. Public comment on the K through 6 draft standards ended January 16th. So now I am in the process of compiling all of the comments. There was an online survey, and now I have about 400 pages of comments from the survey, which is fabulous. It's really interesting the attention that social studies is getting right now, which it's not had for a long time. So it's great that we're getting this focus, but it's also a little overwhelming that we're getting this focus because it's stemming from being in such a divisive political time or climate right now. So we also held 3 public hearings. So we're looking at the comments from those and emails and all of those types of things. So the writing committee is reconvening and using those comments to make further revisions to the draft document. Then it will go back to the board. And we're hoping those revisions will be done maybe toward the end of March. It's a lot of stuff to go through. Then it will go to the board for 30 days, and the board will review it, make recommendations, make revisions. We're hoping those will be approved and adopted sometime this summer. Now, the pre-K standards were not a part of that revision process because they actually had just been redone right before this K through 6 process began. So we've just been really careful to try and keep a vertical alignment. So what you're teaching lays the groundwork for kindergarten, which lays more groundwork for first and on up. Next time the standards for social studies are revised, we're planning to do pre-K through 12th grade to ensure vertical alignment all the way through. But I feel pretty good about how it is or how it will be when these are done. I talked too much during the first session and ran out of time, so I'm trying to be better this time. So bear with me. Well, let's just go to this. Okay, so you have social studies standards for 3-year-old preschool and 4-year-old preschool. And I know every area is different, whether they're separate classes or mixed together, but I'm going to put a link to the standards in the chat box. Hopefully. And some of you are like, why? I know this. And some of you are like, I didn't realize we have social studies standards. And that's okay. Because when I started working at the state office last fall, there were so many things that I found out were available to me that I had no idea were there. And I actually was like, well, now I want to go back in the classroom and use these things. So I'm just going to share a few resources with you today that you may or may not already know about. So the preschool standards have this introduction that you're seeing on your screen right now. And I'm sorry to put so much text on the screen, but this is the introduction to your social studies standards. And what I'm going to ask you to do is read the slide to yourselves. Well, I'll mute myself. I'll shut up for a few minutes. Read the slide to yourselves. And then in the chat box, will you please type any words that you feel are interesting from this introduction or important or scary, or tell skills that your kids should be learning or understandings they should be gaining or dispositions we're trying to build within them. So again, read to yourself and then put interesting, important, scary words, skills, understandings, dispositions into the chat box. We'll take like 2 minutes to do that. Go. All right, I'm going to start talking again. I'm just going to call out some of the comments in the chat. Thank you for participating. Comment, I love the informed, engaged citizens, including all people, in interacting with peers, culturally diverse, rapidly changing, and interdependent. Might be preschoolers' first experience in a setting like that outside of home. Problem solving, decision making, collaboration, and citizenship, diverse cultures and abilities, collaboration, problem solving, decision making, citizenship, develop relationships with caregivers and peers. They begin to understand the social structures, yes, within their school, understand and appreciate. Love it. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for participating in that. We sometimes look at our standards and we're like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. I don't even know where to start. And so we do that unpacking thing. And so I took this introduction and did what you all just did. I kind of unpacked it and tried to focus on key words and phrases and all of that. And it's exactly what I have motioning to my chat over here, what you all have put in the chat, inform and engage citizens. Now, as I told the first group, we have been getting some comments like on the kindergarten standards from the public comment period that are like, this is too advanced for this age. or this is too broad, or this is too detailed, or so on. But the writers, the response to those things is this age, the preschoolers and the kindergartners, we're laying the groundwork right now for these things that will come later. They're going to learn about the basics, like you guys said or noticed. This is where did it go? Preschool may be their first experience in a non-family structured social environment. You are teaching them how to be part of a community. You're teaching them how to be engaged. You're teaching them how to be, let's be honest, how to be people outside of their own home. And so what you do in your 3 and 4-year-old classes is going to be added onto in kindergarten, which will then be added onto in first grade. And at the very end, as they mature, this will expand to include their communities, country, and the world. They will understand and appreciate the social structures and norms that create a community and their role as an active participant. And people mentioned in the first group in the chat when we were doing this activity, the voting that they do in their classrooms right now is setting them up to be successful at civic engagement. All of these things that you already do are social studies. I would even argue that you probably do more social studies instruction in your class than any other content area. It's just not necessarily labeled that right now, or it's innate for you. It's just what you do with students this age. You're social studies teachers, whether you realize it or not. So our standards in Utah, not all states do this, but our standards in Utah are an expanding environments framework. So we start with the self, the individual, and then family, and then classroom and school and community and state and country and world in 6th grade. So expanding environments, and they just build upon the previous year. Now, I said that you probably teach more social studies than anything else in your classrooms. And so along with that introduction, there are these ideas of you are supporting learning in social studies when you do these types of things. And I just want you to watch these or listen to me say them out loud. And honestly, I hope you feel proud. I hope you give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing these things every day. This is you teaching social studies. Encourage regular classroom discussions. Guys, you're teaching preschool. There are classroom discussions going on all day long, all the time, whether you want them to or not, right? You are doing this. Learning about children's preferences, interests, background, and culture. You share information about yourselves and then find commonalities with your kids. Don't they love it when they find something they have in common with you? Even my 6th graders, where it's not cool to like your teacher or whatever, they loved it when I could talk basketball with them or something like that, or my children at home have the same interests that they have. So honor the children's family culture and maintain a respectful attitude when interacting with others. You're modeling this for them every day. Encourage children to respect and include all classmates, appreciate the differences, meet each other's needs, take care of each other. We're outside of our family, but now we have this classroom family that we contribute to and support. Acknowledge their efforts and classroom contributions. Holy feedback, positive feedback, positive reinforcement. Provide direct instruction on appropriate social interaction skills with specific feedback. Again, you're teaching them how to be people and how to be decent. Design activities that foster social interaction. Model behaviors that care for the environment. Now, this is a topic that is a little bit touchy in the draft standards. Anytime we mention environment or like human geography and physical geography and how humans interact with their surroundings, a lot of people turn it into environmentalism, and this is too political, and climate change. Taking care of where we are is not political, okay? And if these things are in your standards, you're expected to teach them. If you need me to have your back on that, please reach out and let me know. Okay. You're not being political when you are teaching kids about nature and how we impact the world around us. Explain the importance of safety and why practicing safety is important. Provide children with choices and voting opportunities, which you all do. Model healthy use of technology, including supporting the use of assistive technology. Follow the children's lead, play with them at their level, and encourage cooperative play. So hopefully you all see right now, oh my gosh, I do that. Oh, I do that. I do that all day long, every day. You are teaching social studies. So just a little bit of focus. Sorry, looking at my notes. I don't want to skip anything, but I don't want to talk too much either. Okay, so looking at your standards, what I love about your standards is in the green, it's the 3-year-old standard. In the purple, it's the 4-year-old standards. Teresa, am I saying it right? I'm not saying 3rd grade and 4th grade, right? Habits die hard. So they're vertically aligned. And at the end of your standards document, well, you've got all the 3rd grade C standards for 3-year-olds. And then after the 3-year-old standards, then you have the standards for 4-year-olds. And after the standards for 4-year-olds, you actually have a vertical alignment document that shows the related standards side by side. So you can see how they're the same and how they're different. I love that. I wish we had that all the way through 6th grade. So if you'll notice just on the first one, you have 8 strands. So culture and diversity, time continuity and change, people, places, environments, and so on. And then each strand has a standard or 2 or 3 standards, but most of them I think just have 1 standard. So this first culture and diversity, the only standard says for 3-year-olds, with prompting and support, recognize differences and commonalities in culture, ethnicity, and abilities within the classroom and immediate communities. For example, language, family structure, traditions, disabilities. Now notice on the 4-year-old, almost did it again, it's the exact same thing, except with prompting and support is gone. So you're setting them up for it when they're 3. You are teaching it to them and you're guiding them and scaffolding for them. And then when they're 4, hopefully they are trained well enough to recognize those things on their own. Okay, so that's how most of them are laid out. Then I'm going to put another link in. There's the strategies and activities document, and Jessica Mackley, who I met with prior to planning this, she's one of the preschool specialists at USBE. She was really worried that you may not be aware of this document, which is the strategies and activities document. Now, I'm going to put that in the chat. So the biggest bummer about my job, which I did not realize until I accepted it, I still love it, but is that I cannot endorse curriculum. I can't endorse specific resources or anything like that because Utah is a local control state. Curriculum writing is my favorite thing to do, and I cannot do that in this position officially. But a way around that is that we work with LEAs, districts, and classroom teachers to come up with teaching ideas or lesson plans or units. And then we connect them with the folks at UEN to get them put on UEN. Now, it's no secret that USBE's website is a nightmare to navigate. So that's why I'm putting these specific links into the chat box, because it doesn't matter how many times I find these, it still takes me several tries. So the strategies and activities document, you'll notice this is for the 3-year-olds on the left with the green at the top. It gives the standard that we just looked at. And then in the box on the right, it gives suggestions of simple things you can do in your classroom that would teach that standard. Okay, same 4-year-old as the purple. They're very similar. What I want you to do, like we did before, again, is take a minute to read the strategies and activities that are suggested for each of those standards, and put in the chat box. This is where the blunt honesty comes in. Promise me you'll do it. put in the chat box any strategy or activity that makes you feel a little bit squirmy. Are there any that make you feel uncomfortable or you're not sure you'd feel safe doing that in your classroom? I'm going to shut up again for a minute, let you read those and type in the chat box.
Dress right now. Yes. You got married today.
Okay, if you don't want to type in the chat box, you're welcome to come off of mute. Take a risk. Or maybe you're good with all of them. Maybe I'm making assumptions and I shouldn't. Are there any that make you a little bit wary? Okay, I'm going to talk about one that somebody brought up in the first group. I'm going to talk about a couple. Okay, so one person in the first group said she's uncomfortable with the match skin colors to variety of knee-high nylon stockings and discuss what they see. Can you think of why someone might feel uncomfortable with that? Teresa, maybe they all just joined and turned off their cameras and went outside.
No. Well,
oh, good. Okay, Janelle says, I actually did the cultural sharing in my class one year. How did it go, Janelle?
Actually, it went really well. I had a few students who were just from very different cultures. We had one from Africa. She was adopted from Ghana.
Wow.
And then we had a family who the mother was from Peru. And so I just contacted the parents and said, hey, would you like to bring anything in or share with us anything? And so the parents didn't come in. They just sent stuff with the children in their backpacks or whatever. But one child, she came dressed in a full cultural attire that they do. And they brought examples of music instruments that they did and lots of fun things. And the kids were just eating it up. They loved it. Good. And it was really fun. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I grew up that way. I know I don't look like I would have a different culture behind me. Blonde, it's fake blonde hair now, but blue eyes. But my dad is from Denmark and he immigrated here when he was a teenager, and that Danish culture and history, and my grandpa was part of the Danish resistance during World War II. Like, that is how I identified myself growing up. And I loved it when my teachers were like, hey, does anyone want to share their holiday traditions or, different cultural things they do? Loved that. Someone in the first session was a little bit nervous about that though, actually. And I think it stems from this culture right now that we have about whataboutism. Well, you're inviting people of different cultures to come in and share their stuff, but what about me? I'm just white and normal. I hate I've heard that, in some of these public comment hearings, but there's nothing special about me. Oh, there's something special about everybody. There's something unique about every family. So I feel like we need to not be afraid to welcome those types of things in. So Janelle, thank you for sharing that. Sarah says the nylon thing can be seen as comparing them to objects and not people. Very, very insightful. Hair Love, Lauren, we're going to talk about that in just a second. We're reading Hair Love next week in our class. I love that. So that is leading right in. We're going to share Hair Love right now, actually. And so one of these things says, make picture collages of different types of hairstyles. So, and let me say this too. One person in the first session that had concerns about the nylon stockings and matching skin colors is that she is Native American and is teaching Native American population. And so she said, we are not defined by our skin color that may be different than people around us. I respect that so much. And I love that she took the risk and shared that out in our group. And remember back to when I said we are the experts of our own classroom communities. Your kids, your parents, the community that you're teaching in. And we, Robert and I, did I already say, it's like teaching junior high again, where I don't know if I've already said what I want to say. But Robert is the secondary social studies specialist. We trust you to know your community, know your students, and choose the activities and strategies that are going to work best for them. Some of the comments on the draft standards for kindergarten through sixth grade say, this is too broad. And teachers are going to choose to do different things. And we're like, yes, they are. And we want them to, because this teacher that's teaching in Logan has a very different community and student population than this teacher who is teaching at Dugway. And then this teacher who is in Juab County. And we have to trust you all to make those best decisions. We do trust you all, and we need to get parents to trust you as well, to know your communities and make these choices. We trust you 100% because you are the experts for your students and your communities. So I'm going to, and if ever you're worried and you're not sure, please reach out and let's talk it out and figure out what's going to be safe and what works for you. So let's go into what Lauren mentioned. So Hair Love, and I apologize for not having this hard copy. It's in my office, at the office, not my home office, because I have not been in town for the last 2 weeks and have not gotten in there. I love to do read alouds with my own children at home, with my sixth graders at school. Anybody that will listen to me do a read aloud, I love to do. So I'm sad I don't have the copy of this book here with me, but I'm going to slide over from my other screen, YouTube read aloud of Hair Love. And we probably won't read the whole thing, but I just want you to get an idea of this book, because another book I'm going to share with you in a minute is titled Every Book is a Social Studies Book. And that's like my life theme, is that every book is a social studies book. We can connect your standards to any book. Or you throw one at me and I will make it work for you. So we're going to start over with this Hair Love and give you a couple minutes to experience it.
Welcome to Shine Story. Sometimes it helps my kids every day of the week. Today's story is
Hair Love by Matthew A. Cherry. Illustrated by Vashti Harrison. My name is Ziri, and I have hair that has a mind of its own. It kinks, coils, and curls every which way. Daddy tells me it is beautiful. That makes me proud. I love that my hair lets me be me. In funky braids with beads, I am a princess. And when my hair is in two puffs, I am above the clouds like a superhero. My hair even does magic tricks. One day, Rocky and I were playing outside when along came the rain. From large to small it went. Presto, just like that. There is nothing my hair can't do. Today, I woke up extra early all by myself. I was too excited to sleep. It's a big day. Daddy was still sleeping. Shh, I said to Rocky as we tiptoed past him. Lately, Daddy has been worn out. He makes me breakfast, takes me to school, goes to work, picks me up, and yesterday we went for a bike ride around the park. I think he needs a break. Because today is special, I want a perfect hairstyle. This calls for a professional's touch. Paws off, Rocky. Daddy heard the crash. Zuri, what on earth? He asked. I was only trying to help, I said. Daddy smiled. Can I help too? It'll be a piece of cake, Zuzu. The first style was a big no way. The second was no better. No, Daddy. Then Daddy tried slicking my hair back into two puffs. Ouch! Daddy yelled.
I love how the elastic band flies off and hits him in the eye. Someone with naturally curly hair that does not like to be contained, I can relate.
I think you just accidentally muted yourself, Joanna.
Yes, I did. I'm so sorry.
Great.
Thank you. So that's A Hair Love by Matthew A. Cherry. And it actually was turned into a short animated film not too long ago. And I believe it won an Academy Award. So love that book. Now, this next one is very near and dear to my heart, Eyes That Kiss in the Corners, because my two stepsons are biracial. Their mom is Korean and their dad is white. And I think a lot of times when we think about differences, we just think black and white. I love this one because our boys have experienced a lot of ugliness since the beginning of the pandemic, and the racism that's been directed at Asians because of some people, blaming the Chinese for bringing COVID into the United States. So this is another one that I think kids your students age could appreciate.
My name is Ming Na.
So this video is Ming Na Wen, who was Mulan from the original Mulan, but I'm actually going to skip over so we can have a couple extra minutes of the book. So we're going to skip her introduction.
That Kiss in the Corners by Joanna Ho and illustrated by Zhang Ho. Some people have eyes like sapphire lagoons, with lashes like lace trim on ball gowns, sweeping their cheeks as they twirl. Big eyes, long lashes. Not me. I have eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea. My eyes are just like Mama's. Mama's eyes that kiss in the corners and glow like warm tea crinkle into crescent moons when she comes home from work. She scoops me in her arms, eyes sparkling like starlight, and tickles me until we laugh ourselves onto the floor. When Mama tucks me in at night, her eyes tell me I'm a miracle. In those moments when she's all mine, flecks of dancing gold tell me I'm hers too.
Then it talks about grandma, the similarities there as well. So just a few options. I always try, if I'm not reading it out loud, or even if I want to, but I think it'd be better to share the experience with my students by someone from that race or ethnicity doing the read aloud, then I will find these videos on YouTube, and it's more authentic, I think, that way. The kids exposure, I taught in mostly white areas, so the exposure was good for them. So this is the book that I was mentioning. Every book is a social studies book. It's big, but it's an easy read. And what's really cool about this is the chapters are actually organized by your strands in your social studies standards. So culture and diversity, let me pull them. Time, continuity, and change, people, places, and environments, individual development, identity. It is case 6, but I still feel like it's applicable. The justifications and the theory behind it. So that just might be something that you're interested in. I'm not officially endorsing it, but as a former teacher, I love it. Okay, now, last few minutes. Inquiry. The inquiry design model is the most effective way to teach social studies. And it's really ironic that I'm sharing this with you, because inquiry is the dynamic process of being open to wonder and puzzlements and coming to know and understand the world. And you guys, if anyone is an expert at inquiry, it is you and your students, right? You live in a billion questions every single day coming from your kids. And I always would say when I was in the classroom that I would channel the crazy, like holidays and sporting events. My 6th graders would start buzzing and bouncing off the walls, or a full moon, or changes in the weather. And you channel the crazy and you use it to move forward with your teaching and your standards. And this is what you do every day. So this is from another book that I love called Inquiry Mindset by Trevor Mackenzie. And you can find him online, and all of these sketch notes are online too. But I love the sketch note of an inquiry teacher, because this is you. This is the preschool teacher. Inquiry teachers are playful. Hello, know their curriculum. Inquiry teachers know their students, whether you want to or not. You know everything about your students and their families, because students your age are not embarrassed or shy about sharing. Inquiry teachers teach slowly if necessary. They're passionate. They go outside and come back in. They explore and pull those things into their lessons. Inquiry teachers are curious. You're here today. Inquiry teachers reflect and revise as they go. It's a matter of survival. So you are already teaching through inquiry. You can't help it. It's innate, and it just lends itself to the age that you teach. This is a diagram or sketch note of an inquiry classroom, again, from the same book, and you can find these sketch notes online. But I've pulled a couple of things out from this diagram to just share with you, just a couple little strategies really quickly. So notice this wonder wall over here, and the curiosity jar, and these wonder buckets right here. Everything on here kind of lends itself to different ages. But I loved these 3 ideas for preschool. So I'm running out of time again, Teresa. Curiosity jar. You have a container in your classroom, and this is where students put their questionings or their wonderings or their curiosities. And they may have to draw it because they're not writing yet, or they will ask you a question and you can write it for them and drop it into this jar. And then when you have carpet time, you pull them out and you give validation to your students and their questions. And you ask questions like, has anyone else ever wondered the same thing? Well, if we wanted to find out more about this, where could we go? Who could we ask? What would we do? Does anyone have a friend or a relative who could help us with this curiosity? And then you're validating your kids, and they feel like what they want to know is important, and the other kids feel like they have something to contribute. A wonder wall. You can put pictures of your students on a wall, and then the thought bubbles are laminated, and your kids, you can again write their questions for them, or they can draw what their curiosities are, and then it's in the classroom for everyone to see. Wonder repository, or the wonder buckets, is the same idea, but a collection of things. And then I put questions that relate to your social studies standards on this slide. So you'd want to have rules, of course. You know this better than anyone. Nothing that stinks, nothing that's alive, nothing that belongs to anyone else. But where do you think this came from? Why do you think it was invented? Who would use this object? How do you think this maybe was used in the past? How could this help others? Okay, so just some quick ideas from that book. I'm sorry I talked too much and we just ran. I told you I had planned for an entire day, not just a 50-minute session. So because we're out of time, please feel free to email me with any questions. Just look up USBE Social Studies and my contact information is at the bottom of the page. I'm going to try once again to put a Google form in the chat. I'm hoping it works this time. And it probably won't. If it doesn't, I will put it in the folder for this.
Okay, well, that's good, Bethany. If she's done talking, will you just leave?
Yeah. Oh, I can't. There we go. I just want to know, what do you need? What can I help you with? What kind of supports can I give you? It has a place on the form for your name and location in your email. Those are not required. If you have questions that you want to do anonymously, or needs that you want anonymous, or some things that you think I should know, but you don't want me to know who you are, don't fill out those things. If you want me to contact you, put those things in and I'll take care of you. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime with any questions or needs or supports, backup, help with scary, hard things. I am here for you. Like, I'm your person. So thank you again for being here today, taking time out of your busy schedules, and it's Friday and you're exhausted and need to start your weekend. So much respect. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Joanna. That was so fun, and all the materials you shared here, and in the comments, people are agreeing with me too. Thank you. And really quick, if you check the chat remember to sign in for the session, there's 2 links that you'll need. There's a link to sign in for the session, and the second link is an overall survey of the whole workshop. And please complete that. We'll be using those. You'll get an extra entry into the drawing. We have Lakeshore stuff. So you'll leave this room. This is room 3. You're going to go back to room 1 on your agenda, same room where the keynote was. So if you find that link, and in there, we're going to do a wrap up and do the drawing. So please remember to fill out that survey, and we'll see you in the big session back in room 1. And thank you again, Joanna. This has been great.
Thanks for all your help, Teresa. I appreciate your support. Take care, everyone.